So this one is the assignment related to DC electricity. We are done with the topic of electricity. So now we'll do questions related to the topic. I want participation from everyone. It's not an issue even your answer is wrong, but you should participate and show your understanding of the topic. Question 1. There are multiple choice question as well as a structured questions. A source of EMF with no internal resistance is connected across a negative temperature coefficient thermistor. Negative temperature coefficient thermistor refers to that the relation between temperature and conduction or resistance is inverse. It's a semiconductor. If you increase the temperature, the resistance will decrease. The current in the thermistor and the potential difference across the thermistor are measured. The temperature of a thermistor is increased. If we increase the temperature, which of the following will be observed? What we will observe? Question 1. Because what happened, as you can see, they mention a source of EMF with no internal resistance is connected across a negative temperature coefficient thermistor. So the only component which is present in the circuit is a thermistor with a supply. This is a circuit symbol for the thermistor. So now as you can see, if I say this, and they already mentioned that it is with no internal resistance. If no internal resistance, the voltage of the supply is same as the voltage across the component. So what will happen? This will also have 10 volts. Now even I change the temperature, the resistance will change, but the voltage will not change because all of the voltage will be there across the thermistor what is there from the supply. But what happened to current? The relation, we have the formula V is equals to IR. If voltage is kept constant, the relation between resistance and current, they are inverse. If voltage is same, if we increase the temperature, as we are increasing a temperature, resistance will decrease. As the resistance decrease, the current will increase. That's why C is the right answer here. The potential, what happened? The potential will change if there was another component and it was using as a potential divider circuit. But right now there's only one component, so voltage of the supply will always be same as voltage of the across the thermistor because they are connected in parallel to each other. Question 2. Which of the following equation does not include any SI base quantity? Which of them does not include any SI base quantity? Here D is the right answer because here time is the SI base quantity, current is SI base quantity, time is SI base quantity, current is SI base. But work done, charge and voltage are not the SI base quantities. These are derived quantities. That's why D is the right option. Question 3. A potential difference is applied across a sample of a metal wire. So there is a current. The charge carrier in the wire have the drift velocity v. Without changing the applied potential, the second identical wire is placed in parallel to the first wire. What is the drift velocity now? Question 3. Second identical wire is placed, and that is placed parallel. So if it is placed parallel, it means we apply the same voltage, the resistance is also same, so all the parameters remain same, so drift velocity will be same as well, it will not change. Why the drift velocity is not changing? Because you have a supply, you are having a resistor, and drift velocity of the particle, this the net resultant displacement over time, that drift velocity was v. Now you connect another one in parallel. So if you connect another one in parallel, it is receiving the same voltage from the battery, and it is identical. So what happened to the drift velocity? If identical, both are same, because the drift velocity, in what factor it depends? It depends on, you can use a formula to work out this, even you can use a theory to write the answer. So they will receive, you have the formula I is equals to N A V Q. So drift velocity depends on how much current is passing through. Like what is the total current in the circuit? It also depends on number of the charge carrier, it depends on the area, and it depends on charge densities. And what we did here, without changing the applied potential, we did not change the voltage. We keep the voltage same. So if voltage here is V, voltage across the first one is also V, voltage across the second one is also V. And they're asking what will be the drift velocity, because they're receiving the same voltage, identical material. So both will have the same drift velocities. A student is investigating a relation between the current and the potential for a component. He does not have access to the power supply, like he don't have a power or a variable power supply. He decided to use a length of a wire which he decided to use a length of a resistance wire to control the potential across the component. A student could use the wire so that to set up a potential divider or a variable resistor. So this is a potential divider circuit, other one is a variable resistor, or we can also say as a rheostat he's using, like to main purpose to change the current. State the advantage of using a potential divider circuit. Now what is the advantage of using a potential divider circuit over a using as a rheostat or a variable resistor circuit? Because when we are using this as a variable resistor, so voltage across the component cannot be zero. Why because component, the current, when the charges are moving, the conventional current, they have to pass through the component. So as they have to pass through a component, there will be some voltage across the component. If the wire is placed at position like A, so if we place the wire at position A, what will happen when the conventional current or the charges will flow? So if this is a 10-volt supply, the charges will flow out and move through the component, so component will have all the 10 volts because they are not passing through the resistance wire. But if I change the position of the resistance wire to the opposite end, so you can see now the current. So some voltage, if this was a 10 volt supply, some voltage drop in the resistance wire and some voltage will drop across the component, but there will be a voltage across the component. So we cannot reduce the voltage across the component to zero. But in a potential divider circuit, if this was a 10 volt supply, because the voltage will divide between the components, so if it is exactly at the center, so 5 volts and 5 volts. But if I move this movable part, the sliding contact, to the other side, so that what will happen, so all of the voltage, like if this was a 10 volts, so all 10 volts will be here and 0 volts across the component as it is parallel to the other part. So here we can reduce the voltage to 0, but in a variable resistor or rheostat we cannot reduce the voltage to 0. So one advantage of using a potential divider circuit, the voltage across the component can be reduced to 0. That is the main advantage of potential divider circuit over rheostat or variable resistor circuit. Is it clear? The advantage and the reason. Then the second part, the student uses a wire of resistance 24 ohm. Calculate the diameter of the wire. The resistivity is 1.2 exponent minus 6 and the length of a wire is 50 centimeter. So first, to get the diameter, first we'll find the area. And how to find the area? We have the formula resistance R is equals to rho L by A. So our area is equals to rho L divided by R. Rho is the resistivity, which is 1.2 into 10 to the power minus 6. L is the length 50 centimeter or 0.5 meter divided by the resistance, which is 24. What is the area? The area of cross section of the wire first. 1.2 exponent minus 6 multiplied by 0.5 divided by 24. That will give you cross sectional area. So area will come out 2.5 exponent minus 8 meter square. So that is the area of the cross section of the wire, which is 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 8 meter square. Now after knowing the area, because we need a diameter, area of cross section of the wire is pi r square or pi d square by 4. You can first find the radius and then find the diameter, or you can use directly the formula which relate area and diameter. It's pi d square by 4. So if I need diameter, so it will be area multiplied by 4 divided by pi in a root. So area we already calculated, that's 2.5 exponent minus 8 multiplied by 4 divided by 3.14 in a root. So that will give us the diameter of this wire, which will be 1.78 exponent minus 4. So the direct formula, just you have to substitute and get the answer. Another potential divider of length 40 centimeter and resistance 50 ohm has a potential of 12 volt applied across it. The potential is measured across 7.16 wire. Calculate this potential. So how we will calculate this potential? Basically, the ratio of the resistance and the ratio of the voltage is same. So this is a total wire which is 40 centimeter length, and the resistance of this whole part is equals to 50 ohm. And we know resistance is directly proportional to length if area is same. Look, you have and two wire, the wire material is same. So the formula when we relate R1 A1 over L1 is equals to R2 A2 over L2. Because the wire is same, so they have the same area. Only we are finding a resistance of a part of a wire which is having a length of 7.16. Here we don't have to convert the units as well because we are using a ratio. So simply I can say R1 over L1 is equals to R2 over L2. R1 is the first resistance. The total you can take like the total resistance which is 50. The length one that is for 40 centimeter. R2 we don't know, and for length is 7.16. So 50 into 7.16 divided by 40. What this will provide us the resistance. And after knowing the resistance, you can use the formula because the total 12 is there across it. So you can use the formula V is equals to IR and calculate that. That is one method. Then there is also another method, another way, the potential divider circuit. So as you can use a potential divider circuit, so after getting the resistance or finding the resistance like R2, and we have the formula V is equals to IR. V is the total voltage, I is the total current, and R is the total resistance. So total voltage is 12, current we don't know, total resistance is equals to 50. So 12 divided by 50 will get the total current, which is 0.24 amperes. And after getting a total current, we know the total current is same because the part of the wire we are taking and finding its resistance of a length of a wire which is 7.16 centimeter long. So we have the current, we have the resistance, so we can use the formula V is equals to IR and find the voltage across 7.16 volts. Is it clear? Or there is also another method. The voltage divider formula, voltage divider method can also be used because the ratio of the length and the ratio of the voltage or ratio of the resistance will be same. So instead of R1 over L1 and R2 over L2, I can say V1 over L1 equal V2 over L2 because the component which will have greater resistance will have more voltage across it. Is it clear this part? Another question And orange cell is made by inserting a magnesium and the copper electrodes into a orange. The orange cell act as a source of EMF which can be used to power a clock. The following measurements are obtained. The EMF, the maximum voltage is 1.79. Potential across the clock means the external voltage is 1.72 and the current in the clock is 4.2 microampere. The internal resistance of orange cell is about 20 kilo ohm. So we have to show that, or the value of the internal resistance, we have to show that it's about 20 kilo ohm. So we have the formula that which relate the EMF, internal resistance and external resistance. That EMF is equals to external voltage plus internal voltage, which is IN small r. So EMF is equals to 1.79, external voltage is 1.72, current is 4.2 into 10 to the power minus 6 because it's micro ampere, and the resistance we don't know. 1.72 is added, other side it will be subtracted, so it will be 1.79 minus 1.72, and 4 exponent minus 6 is multiplied with V, other side it will divide, so this will be divided with 4.2 into 10 to the power minus 6. We will get the external, we will get the internal resistance or R. So when we calculate the value, it will be 16,700. So value of the R is equals to 16,700 ohms. And that we have to show that it is approximately closer to 20 kilo ohm, about 20 or closer to this value. Calculate the power output of a cell when it is used to power the clock. So power P is equals to VI or P is equals to I square R. You can use this formula. We know the voltage and current, so we can use P is equals to VI. So the power, which is a product of voltage and current, as you can see the table, the external voltage is 1.72 and the current is 4.2. So we'll multiply both of them to get the power output. So 1.72 multiplied by 4.2 into 10 to the power minus 6. So when you multiply these numbers, it will be a small power, that is approximately 7.2 into 10 to the power minus 6 watt. And it is obvious because this is not the normal cell, this is just an orange cell, which working based on that the more reactive metal will lose electron and transfer to the less reactive metal surface, responsible for voltage produce or EMF produce. The next part, EMF measured was obtained by removing a clock and connecting a voltmeter with a resistance of 1.1 exponent 7, that is exponent 7. Discuss the suitability of this method. It's a 4 marks. Look, as I mentioned, that if we want to measure the EMF, we don't want any current in the circuit. Why we don't want current in the circuit? Because the formula which relate the EMF and the external and internal voltage, that formula is EMF is equals to V external voltage plus IR internal. But if I want to connect, like I have a cell with the internal resistance, and if I connect a voltmeter, my voltmeter will not record the EMF if there is a current in the circuit. Like, because if there is a current in the circuit, there is a loss voltage, and voltmeter cannot record that loss voltage. It will only record what is supplied by the battery to external circuit. So what we want to reduce this value. We don't want a current to be zero. So if we connect a voltmeter with a very high resistance or too high resistance, you can see about mega ohm approximately, or more than that, So if it's too high resistance, what happened to the current? The current will be approximately zero. So this whole factor will be zero. If this factor is zero, when we connect a voltmeter, the voltage reading on the voltmeter will be same as the EMF. So how you write this answer? You will mention the voltmeter is having a very high resistance or large resistance compared to internal resistance. So negligible current or no current will flow through the circuit. So no voltage drop internally and all the voltage drop externally, which will be equal to electromotive force or EMF. Is it clear? So these are the 4 points which you have to include in this reason, that why you select a very high resistance voltmeter. If it was a low resistance voltmeter, some current can flow through the voltmeter. So if there is a current in the circuit, it means there is voltage drop internally. So external voltage, what the voltmeter record will not be equal to electromotive force or EMF. The photograph shows a set of decorative lights. The lights are connected in parallel. A student is asked to determine whether the lights containing a filament bulb or a light emitting diode or LED. So she set up a circuit to obtain a graph of a current and voltage. A student concludes that LED is not a filament bulb. Explain why or how you justify this, because a filament bulb can be operated or can work with a very small voltage. A conduction will be there. But for LEDs, light emitting diodes, these are semiconductor, it will start to work at a specific voltage. Before that, it is not working. So from this graph, how we can say, from this graph, how we can say that it is a diode, not a filament? Because what happened when we are increasing a voltage, the current initially it is zero. At a certain voltage, only the current start to increase, which shows a behavior of a semiconductor diode. But if it was a filament, when we increase the voltage, the current instantly should increase. And second thing, as you can see from this graph, if current is on y-axis and voltage is on x-axis, so what slope represent? Slope is the quantity on y-axis divided by quantity on x-axis. So it is current divided by voltage, or 1 over r. So as the slope is increasing, it means the resistance is decreasing. And as you can see here, the slope is increasing, so resistance is decreasing. But for filament, it does not happen like this. For filament lamps, when we increase the voltage, the resistance also increases. So it is showing a different behavior. So 2 points which you have to include. Number one, that there is a minimum voltage, there is a certain voltage at which it start to conduct. If it was a filament, small voltage, it should conduct electricity because it is made up of metal. And the second point, for filament, when we increase the voltage, the current increases, so resistance also increase. But for diodes, thermistor, semiconductor, it is opposite, and it is showing a behavior of a semiconductor rather than a filament. Then discuss the distribution of the readings from this graph. So how we can discuss this distribution, or what we can comment on this distribution? First thing you can see, it is a non-uniform distribution. Non-uniform, like readings are not taken at the same interval. Some reading like 0.1, then values are closer. So it is non-uniform time interval for the reading. And second thing, more readings are there, more values are there, so it is easy to plot a smooth line curve. So two things are there. Number one, there are unequal distribution in the reading, And the second thing, there are more readings, so it is easy to plot or a smooth curve. Determine the resistance of single LED when the total current for the set of light is 15 milliampere. They are all parallel, and how many LEDs are there? 15 milliampere, but how many LEDs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 LEDs are there. So total current which is coming to the circuit is 15 milliampere. But we need for each LED, for one LED, so we'll divide by 12, because in parallel the current divide between the component. And because they are identical components, so they all will receive the same current. So we will use this graph 15 milliampere, or what you can do, you can find the total resistance and then use a formula for equivalent resistance. 0.00125 ampere, that's a current in one LED, and then you need the resistance. You have the formula V is equals to IR. So take any voltage, because this is for total current, when the total current in the circuit is 15 milliampere, that's a total current, and these 12 LEDs are in parallel to each other. This is not the symbol for LED. I was just making a block diagram, but this is a symbol for LED, light emitting diode. Arrows are pointing out. And so on. So because they are all parallel, so the total current which is coming from the supply, that is 15 milliampere, and the voltage for when the current is 15 milliampere, the voltage is approximately 1.9. So 1.9 is the voltage, and if 1.9 is the voltage, all are parallel, so they all receive the same voltage. So we know the voltage and we know the current in each. How to know a current in each? Because 15 ampere divided between the 12, so 15 milliampere divided between the 12 LEDs, so 15 milliamp divided by 2, that will give us the current, and the voltage is 1.9, so we'll use the formula V is equals to IR. So V is equals to IR. The voltage is 1.9 and the current is 15 milli, means 15 into 10 to the power minus 3 divided by 12, we'll get the current, and then this whole factor divided 1.9 divided by this, 1.9 divided by 0.00125, so we'll get the final resistance, that will be approximately 1500 ohms. Yeah, 1520 ohms. Which of the following shows a drive unit expressed in terms of SI base unit? The drive unit in terms of SI base unit. Question 7. So A is the right answer because ampere multiplied by second, both are the SI units, base unit, and we represent a coulomb in terms of SI base unit. The circuit contain resistance R. What is the resistance? What is the resistance of R if the potential across is 2? So if 2 volts is here, what is the resistance of this component? So how you can work out? You can use a voltage divider formula. The formula is, we have, if I say the voltage here is V1 and voltage here is V2. So V1 is equals to resistance of that part divided by sum of the resistance into combined voltage V. So that's 2 volts resistance divided by R plus 2, R plus 5 into combined voltage, that is 12. So this R plus 5 is multiplied there, so this will become 2R plus 10 is equals to 12R. So when you solve, 2R will move to other side. So 10R, 10 is equals to 10R, or R is equals to 1. So that's why B is the right answer. Then a circuit contains a battery of 4 cells in series, each of cell EMF 1.5. A charge of 3 coulomb passes through the battery. What is the energy? So energy transfer or energy supplied or voltage is work done per unit charge, or work done or energy is equals to voltage into charge. So there are 4 cells in each of one, so total will be 1.5 multiplied by 4, that is equals to 6. So 6 is the total EMF or voltage, and total charge which is moving is 3. So 6 multiplied by 3, that's equal to 18 joules. That's why D will be the right answer. Next session, we will discuss more questions related to electricity. Any question related to the class today? And I already shared this assignment with you. You can also solve questions from this assignment to practice and improve your understanding.